Welcome to Tutor Boot, where we sift through the week's HR headlines so you don't have to. I'm Stacey Nordwall, your host with 15, 20 years in HR, mostly building people functions from the ground up at early stage tech companies. We get together, chat about the news, toot what we like, boot what we don't like. And joining the conversation today is Kim Minnick. Welcome back, Kim.
Thanks for having me back. I'm so excited to be here.
Are you ready? Have you got your tootin' and bootin' hats on?
I've got my tootin' and bootin' hats. I am ready to go. Should I do a quick intro? Hey, I do people
Yes.
ops. I've been around the block for around 15-ish years. Um, I'm for hire. I'm your fractional people ops pal. Yeah, building teams, loving it. Let's do it.
All right, let's dig in. We have an article from HR Brew. Employees care less and less about workplace relationships, new research finds. I haven't even done the recap, and her face is fully, okay, wait, she's reading the recap. Okay. New Glassdoor research finds employees are increasingly deprioritizing workplace relationships, which may potentially impact their well being and productivity. They point to several factors for decline, like American work culture, erosion of trust in employment relationships, and poorly executed hybrid and remote work policies. They suggest, facilitating relationship building through employee chosen experiences to basically boost those connections, improve retention, reduce groupthink, and help prevent toxic workplace behaviors. Kim, your reaction was a strong one. What did you think about this?
When I first saw the title, I think the title is Employees Care Less About Workplace Relationships. I yelled good. I was like, good. Like, what? When in our society as an adult, and the article kind of touches on this, but like, work should not be the only place that we are finding relationships. And to me, it's like a symptom of hyper capitalism that we're like, okay, if you need friendships, work. If you need healthcare, work. If you need this,
Mm.
work. Like it's just so dystopian to me. So it's kind of, I read that and was like, cool, how can we as HR leaders not facilitate relationships in the workplace, but facilitate a better work-life balance so folks can
Mm.
explore places to find communities that can't be cut off during a RIF event?
Oh, yeah. That's so good, Kim.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
just
really
and
love
the
that.
article, I think Adam Grant does talk about this. Like we used to find relationships in organized religion. That's not my bag. Or the book club or this. And I was like, yeah, and I have found relationships at the gym. There's a crafting group that I'm going to check out so I can get my crochet chops on. And I'm able to do that now because I work for myself. I control my own schedule and I'm able to build time and space in for communities and not reliant on work. So that was the
Yeah.
extreme literal head roll of
Mm.
my reaction to this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I had a different thought about it, but I really love that. I mean, it's similar but kind of different thought. I love what you're saying about because it is true. I think it's true. There's research, and I've read about this before about that folks are finding community in fewer and fewer places, and a lot of these things that it's kind of like community in decline, I think that they call it, where you just don't have the kind of level of connections, or our housing and neighborhoods aren't built in ways that kind of are conducive to meeting and hanging out and things like this. um, and I don't think I quite took that next leap, where you have taken it about, well, that doesn't mean everything needs to happen in a workplace. Let's focus on facilitating that, right? Which is a great point. And to your point about rifts and layoffs, exactly. I've had that experience too, where you get cut off and then a big part of your community or your relationships is gone because that has been severed. And so I think you're right in saying, let's think about where we can create this balance so that people can then, they're not so tired they can't facilitate those relationships elsewhere, right? Like they can seek them elsewhere, and that it's that's an important thing. And so I love that you brought that up.
Exactly. Like there are not a lot of places in our society where we can exist for free, right?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of places where you can just exist for free. So I do love Athena is mentioned in this article. Shout out Melanie. Um, the way they do a relationship connection, they give employees X dollars a month so they can go meet. I do love that. I love the opportunity that folks can choose to engage.
Hmm.
There's a lot of I find a lot of community in my professional network, Stacy, among others. Like, you're my people, and in a way, work brought us together, but the relationship grew differently. So, like,
Yeah.
we can always give us a helping hand, but I worry that the pendulum is going to swing so far that we're so reliant on a workplace that can fire us at any moment. Like,
Yeah.
I worked at a company, this article mentions the third thing, and we had like a budget for the third thing, like go take a creativity day, go take a day to invest in something that fills your cup besides work and besides home. And I would love to see more companies doing that, facilitating that balance.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's one of the things I feel like they do rightly point out is that, and it's not just remote and hybrid work. I think workplaces in general don't necessarily intentionally think about how community is created and connected there, and I think that that's, something clearly that's important for folks to really be intentional about how they're creating those connections. So one of the things they mentioned in the article also, though, which I wanted to call out, they said because they're kind of talking about this between, remote and hybrid work, they're almost like blaming that in a way for this, continued disconnection and removal from workplace relationships. But what they say is, quote, while research shows being in the office at least half the week mitigates most negative effects on coworker relationships, many workplaces do not execute hybrid and virtual work policies to focus on relationship building, end quote. And the thing I always think when I see this is most negative effects on whose whose relationships, because I feel like we've also seen a lot of, people talk about and research that a lot of folks prefer, or not, I don't want to say a lot, there are folks who prefer not being in the office because then they don't have to deal with ableism, sexism, racism, etc. So when they talk about that it mitigates negative effects on coworker relationships, I'm thinking whose relationships, and does it increase negative effects on other people's relationships? So, yeah.
That's so good. Because I thought like, yeah, most companies have not optimized to build relationships in a hybrid or a digital first environment. Like,
Yeah.
no one knows the rules, so it's hard to keep up. But I love what you're calling out. Like, for who? Because you're
Yeah.
right. Like, me personally, I'm a weird human and I like to be my weird human self on my own. And going into an office 3 days is panic inducing for me because
Yeah.
I know I'm going to get called weird again. And just like, for me,
Oh,
remote works. But I had a 5 year ramp up to learn how to build relationships and perform and excel against expectations in a digital first way. It's a different working environment. So,
yeah.
toot to everything you said.
I feel like this is the thing. We just we need to rewrite this article. I feel like because you were calling out some things that I think are great. There are some questions that I have. The other thing is because I have to, this is a little shout out to Cassandra Babilia, because I had her on and she said there was some survey, she dug into the methodology. So I was like, okay, Cassandra, I'm gonna channel you. Look at the methodology for this. It was a poll, Glassdoor poll that ran for 2 days in January and was answered by 800 US professionals. And it's like, and it was a yes or no to, have you ever stayed at a job because you had a work bestie? So I'm like, okay, I don't know that I'm willing to put too much on that if I'm thinking about, trying to foster relationships in the workplace or anything like that. Like that seems, I don't know. I mean,
It's
I'm no
weird.
statistician, but I wonder about the methodology.
Yeah, the efficacy doesn't seem great in the approach. Look, I do agree. It's great to have a friend at work, someone who you can vent to, someone who understands the BS that you're dealing with.
Mm.
But like that should not be extrapolated to HR managers now need to facilitate relationship building because our employees don't have time to find community outside of work.
Yes.
Oh,
100%. We've got enough going on. I think we need to create environments where people can thrive, and that also means thriving outside of the workplace. Not everything needs to happen within the workplace.
toot, toot. Boot the article, toot, Stacy.
Oh my gosh. All right, thank you. All right, let's go on to a the HR Dive article. It was titled "Stressed HR Teams Say They Can't Take Action on Employee Feedback." The recap here, a March 2025 Perceptyx survey of 750 HR leaders found that while 95% maintained or increased employee listening efforts in the past year, only 27% felt confident these programs will lead to desired business outcomes, which is down from 43% in 2024. They said the primary barrier to acting on feedback was intense HR workload, with over 40% of HR leaders saying their jobs have become much more difficult, 30% considering leaving the field, and a quarter already feeling burnt out. What did you think about that, Kim?
We are that dog that's like in flames and this is fine. We are this is fine dog. Like
Yeah.
lovingly, I love people ops. I love HR. I have a very traditional path to get here. Like we are the plus one organization. Oh, don't know what to do? HR will do it. HR will do your offsites. Oh, COVID issues, HR. Oh,
Yeah.
changing government regulations, throw it on HR. Like so yes, of course we're doing so much. I do think we're listening really well.
Mm.
The issue is I don't think we're asking the right questions, right?
Yeah.
Like we're listening to employees about their experience, about what they're enjoying, about their manager. We're not asking them questions. What could the business be doing better? Where's our strategy off? We're not asking them to rate the performance of the business. So,
Mm.
of course, when we're listening to them, we're not asking questions to advance the strategic initiatives of the business. We're just creating all this work to hopefully create a better work environment when I think we could zoom out and say, hey, when we all win, we all win. So let's talk about how to better streamline these conversations. Let's ask better questions to make your workday better, to make the company performance better, and then we can all go home and build those communities on our own.
Indeed, right? Yeah, I agree. I think I had a few thoughts on this. One was to your point, there is real value to asking the right questions. And I think a lot of folks don't necessarily know how to ask the right questions or get at, to some of the articles we talked in our previous episode, you're maybe getting at the symptoms, but not the underlying problem at the questions that you're asking. So I think, that there is an element there, which is obviously why Culture Amp, I'm a former camper, those companies exist, right? Because they're helping people to try to ask the right questions. There's also on top of that, if you can't take action, you shouldn't probably be asking the questions because that kind of erodes people's trust. Why am I giving you this feedback if you're not telling me what you got? You're not being transparent, you're not taking action, right? We know that there's no point in asking if you can't action it. um and I think, 0% surprised to hear that HR leaders are like overloaded and burnt out.
What
uh
else is new?
yeah, nothing is new there.
But I do, to use one of our favorite phrases, I think this is a good time to do more with less. Like,
Hmm.
if your employee listening program isn't serving you, strip it down. If it's
Mm,
causing more work on your end to argue with a wall at the end of the day about things that need to get done, and then now employees aren't even trusting you because you're not bringing it back to them, like maybe strip it down, maybe do less with your listening program, maybe just ask a couple of questions and focus it on the business. I think that to your point, like if you're not going to change it, if employees say that they're overworked, but you're not willing to add more resources or cut down, then like, does your listening program really have the potential to have the outcomes that employees are looking for?
right. I think also, so generally I tooted it because I'm like, yeah, this is accurate.
Yeah, toot.
I agree it. I think the boot for me under that was that the framing continues to be about the listening falls onto HR teams, right? So HR is usually a small department within the org, uh, not the most resourced, and yet expected to have org-wide cultural impact and influence. And we cannot do that on our own. It's just not possible. We absolutely can't do it without other teams and leaders getting on board with it. So I think also I would like for the conversation to extend beyond just, oh, HR is not listening. Okay, well, HR is listening. I mean,
We're
I
listening. We just need
think
a
I'm
little bit of
hoping.
help.
Yeah.
Can
I mean,
we
that's the
get a
thing.
helping hand?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I really feel like the leaders that I know who are out there doing the work, they're listening, but they're exhausted, they're under-resourced, and they have kind of the whole org on their shoulders, and that's not a fair expectation. So I think that it really has to be, let's even in these articles, let's start talking about what is the responsibility of other leaders within the business to engage and take action on employee feedback. It's not just HR teams. It's not just us.
Strong agree. And how are you setting that as a practice from the very, very beginning, like with your manager? Is that onboarding and documentation? Ah, yes, yes, agree.
All right, now we have another one that I feel like is a little behind the scenes of HR. This is the article about Meta. The title is Meta Keeps Secret Do Not Rehire List of Ex-Employees Despite Exceptional Performance Reviews. Also, I should note that this comes to us from the NY Post. They do quote other sources, but we know that the NY Post is probably not the best,
Yeah, it
best
is like
source.
it's like tabloid does politics,
I
I
think
think.
So that's a little caveat there. But the recap is that they said Meta maintains an internal do not rehire list that prevents former employees from rejoining the company, even those who previously had high performance ratings. While Meta claims there are clear criteria for determining rehire eligibility applied at the time of departure, affected former employees say they were never informed of their ineligible status and only discovered it through persistent questioning. So I feel like this is kind of a good like behind the curtains thing because on the surface, um, for employees generally are not told that they are on a do not hire list. I mean, it's very common for HR folks within their, platforms to mark, okay, this was a layoff, this was a resignation, this was, a termination. The person is eligible for rehire, they're not eligible for rehire. Like these are very common things because you're doing this for your own tracking and reporting and all of that, right? Like I don't think that there's anything nefarious within that. That is a pretty common practice. I don't know how many people actually know that that's a thing that's happening, but it does because that's our way of looking at turnover and retention and regrettable turnover and all of these kinds of things. So, having said that, giving a little bit more context for any of those folks who might be listening who aren't deeply embedded in all things HR, what did you think of this article?
So again, at first gut reaction was like, of course they do. Like okay, long time in HR, very heavy in the operations side. Almost every system of record I have worked in, fondly called an HRIS, has a little tick box. Like, is this
Yeah.
person eligible for rehire or not? Like,
Yeah.
somewhere in this New York Post, on a New York Post, employment experts say this is rare. And I was like, "Meh."
I know which experts. Like,
Yeah, no, we all do this. But one,
yeah.
there's some really good reasons for it. Like if there's sexual harassment, if there is, to your point, nefarious actions that are found, that that eligibility needs to outlive my tenure. So we
Yeah.
put it in a system of record.
Yep.
Now, the miss here, the big miss is that it's kept a secret. Like we should be talking about this should be a part of the exit interview or your offboarding paperwork. And like, I always tell employees or folks when I get to meet them, if you have the opportunity to ask those questions. Am I
Mhm.
eligible for rehire? And what information do you confirm on a reference check? Like,
Yeah.
as a departing employee, that's probably stuff you want to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, this list does exist, shouldn't be secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's interesting. So are you saying you think it should be like employees should be told when they're exiting, you're on our do not rehire list?
I think you should know if you're
Mhm.
not eligible for rehire, like you should probably know and hopefully know why. If you were performance managed out, I can see that being a reason. This is not like,
Yeah.
as long as it's not for a protected reason, this is not under the eyes of the US law, an illegal practice. Like
Yeah. Definitely
you
not.
can say someone's not eligible for rehire. I just happen to believe you should probably tell that person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was kind of the like it definitely had it, the article reads as though like, oh, this is secret stuff happening behind it. Any HR person will tell you that that is a common practice when you are offboarding someone is to go through and kind of like categorize the nature of the exit. What are they resigning? Is it a termination? Were performance issues? All of these things, right? As you said, it's part of the system of record and again, not because of like they're trying to maintain some secret list, but to your point, like organizations are big, people come and go. It's good to have that information on hand so that if there was some kind of, thing that really would preclude someone from being rehired, that they aren't rehired. And so that's common practice. I guess, I kind of wonder if just because like Meta was doing things so shady.
Egregiously.
Yeah, it seems like they were doing some pretty shady stuff to begin with, that maybe that's why, this people are really coming back and saying, "Hey, I don't understand this. This wasn't made clear to me. As far as I knew, I was a high performer. There's no reason for me to think that I would not be eligible for rehire." And then that's a very different conversation along the lines of what you're saying of that this should have been part of their exit conversation, or if they're doing layoffs, certainly folks should be told in part of that process of you would be eligible for other positions within the organization.
Totally. And like, if look, someone can be a high performer and ineligible for rehire.
Yeah,
Like,
that too.
brilliant jerks do exist. And
Yes.
sometimes you say, hey, there is such a deep values misalignment between the organization and this human. It has caused issues. So
Yeah.
we know better. We're not going to hire this person again.
Yeah.
But again, if that is new information to them in an exit interview or on their last day or when you're sharing this information, hey, you're not eligible for rehire because of the deep values misalignment. You got other problems, boo.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, truthfully too. Yeah, if that's the conversation, if you're not having that conversation until the exit interview, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right.
Yeah. And then whether the list is secret or not, it's still a crappy list.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, all right, so I think just to put the end on that, I booted it. I booted that article.
Yeah, boot it. It's a practice that exists. Ask. I will say, like, ask those questions when you're leaving an organization. Am I eligible for rehire? What benefits should I know about as a departing employee? And what information do you confirm on a reference check? Those are good things for you to know.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm sure that most people don't even think to be asking those questions. So that is a
Because of the
good,
nature of the meeting normally.
yeah, that too. So that is a great tip. All right. Well, Kim, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your insights with us. If people want to connect with you, learn from you, maybe take a performance management workshop from you, how might they do all of these things?
What a tee up. Yeah, find me on LinkedIn, Kim Minnick, Minnick. A bunch of ramblings. I've got a performance management learning series coming up. So if you want to build better organizational practices to listen to your employees better, and get those business priorities in line, my DMs are open. Come say hi. Stacey, thank you for having me. This was a blast.
Thank you so much for joining, and thank you everyone for listening. Thanks for listening to another episode of Toot or Boot. You can keep in touch with me, Stacey, on LinkedIn, and be sure to subscribe to our newsletter at tootorboot.com. And if you're enjoying Toot or Boot, we'd appreciate your positive review on your favorite podcast platform.